Peace world, this is Substantial, and right now we're on hiphopauthority.com. Let's go.
In the sirens, and I see suffering from domestic violence, but I don't hear solutions. I don't see it in there, but that's nothing new, son. If you ever been here, sometimes I hear laughter, happiness, and peace, but I don't see it often. Just to say the least, when I see it, it is awesome. Always glad to hear it, and I'm proud of my people. Keep it up, that's the spirit, but then I get some bad news. Death has returned. See, murder's not the answer, but Bama's never learn. Kill each other over money and pussy, then see a sound. They frontin' like it's nothing, but from what I hear it's hell. But then I see a smile on a child making moves, actually following through with a righteous path that they choose. When I hear that type of news, it give a brother hope. Make me serve as my muse when I'm struggling to cope. So inspire me, yeah.
So what you hear when you hear this? Hey, yo, what you see when you see me? I hear the struggle and the hustle, see the rumble in the jungle, but the troubles never settle when they rush you on the double. Come on, what you hear when you hear this? Hey, yo, what you see when you see me? I hear my brothers on the humble trying to bubble before they tumble. See them take a drink a shuttle as they muscle.
This is Nene Wallace-Reed with hiphopauthority.com and thewellverse.com, and we are here with my man Substantial.
Yes,
and,
indeed.
We are here at the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And Stan, why don't you go ahead and let the people know what we're up to today?
Yeah, so right now we're coming to you live from, we're in Alexandria, Virginia, and this is VMD Studios. Shout out to my man Joe, posted up in the back, and my man Jay Skrilla for letting us come through and shoot. Yeah, we're here today shooting my music video for the song See Here from my album Home Is Where the Art Is. Yeah, man, should be a real powerful video. Shout out to my man Ariel for coming out from New York to do his thing. You know, should be dope.
Well, Home Is Where the Art Is obviously your brand new album. Just dropped and doing very well from what I've seen on the internet with reviews and just talking to people. People are really liking it.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about the album first? You know, what is the significance of the title?
Right.
And then, let us know a little bit about who's on there and what kind of tracks and whatnot.
Right. So basically, the title "Home Is Where the Art Is." It came from. I mean, it wasn't the original title for the record, but the album ultimately is a tribute to the area that I live in, or I should say, used to live in, because I just moved from Baltimore to VA, and it's a tribute to Baltimore, PG, DC, all the areas I grew up, but in particular Baltimore. While I was writing the record and working on the record, I would often, drive from one place to another, and I would see these beautiful murals around the city. And it's, I think several years ago they started doing a lot more murals in Baltimore to try to, basically beautify the city, if you will, because sometimes if you spent a little bit of time in Baltimore, you'll notice the vacant homes and stuff like that. You'll see like just places that borderline look like war zones in other countries, and it's one of them things that like sometimes you find inspiration in not so beautiful places, so like a lot of the record, some of the inspiration came from what I was seeing while let me reword that. Some of the inspiration came from like the kids I worked with in Baltimore to the different communities I drive through or spend time in, to again the artwork and things like that. And so it's a lot of different things all mixed up in there, man. Just my day-to-day and of course my family life. So yeah.
And I don't know if this is part of it too, but the executive producer being Odyssey,
right,
who was one of the better known artists in the area.
Right.
So, you and him are two of the better known artists in the DMV area.
Right.
So that kind of ties it together too with him.
Right.
Producing it, and then listen to a lot of the content. You talk a lot. You get really personal on it.
Definitely.
Talk about your family. Talk about your wife. Talk about your child. So it's it's kind of all wrapped up in there.
Definitely.
So as far as Odyssey, how did you guys link up? You've both been doing work in the area for a long time. And
right.
This seems to be the first time that you guys really kind of put it down together.
Right. Well, we first met, I want to say it was maybe like 2005 or something like that. We actually met in Connecticut doing a gig together. and we hooked up a few times after that or whatever at different events, from Scribble Jam to different things at CMJ, et cetera, et cetera. And so, you know, when I found out he was from the hometown, pretty much anytime the brother or folks from the Low Budget Crew and stuff like that would come through New York, where I was living at the time, I try to go through, support, show love, because, you know, it was dope to see some people from where I was from doing their thing. And so when I moved down here, we started to collab a little more. He had produced a couple things that I was able to collab with him on, and then eventually when I started working on this record, you know, with it being a tribute to the hometown and kind of like, you know, my personal story and different things like that, it felt right to have someone oversee the project who was actually from the area I was from, just to add some authenticity to it. And so when I asked him if he was interested in doing it, he definitely said he was down, and you know, he hit me with the yo, I'm on it. I was like, come on, son. So yeah, man, it's been a privilege, man. It's been real dope. It's dope to learn from other people in the game or whatever who have their own unique vision and find a way to meld it with yours. It turned out real dope in my opinion. So.
An interesting thing about you guys collabing is you're both huge internationally. And you know, one song that the first single actually that you and Odyssey did together, Check the Resume. You know, even though you're both based here, you're kind of bigger outside of the area.
Right.
And the song seems to kind of be talking about how, you know, people need to understand that you've been here for a while. Can you talk a little bit about that song,
right,
and how that came together, and also just, you know, what you're telling people about in that song?
Right. So when I first started working on the album or whatever, one of the original concepts I had was this whole concept of taking an actual resume and writing a rhyme in resume form, starting from my name and address to like with my references and all of that. And so, you know, I basically wanted to outline my career for the most part, because it's like what I've noticed is it seems like there are a lot of fans who are aloof to different things I've done over the years. Like, you know, there are people who actually think that this album is the first thing I've done since like the album I did with Nujabes, you know what I mean? Which chances are they didn't necessarily buy the album I did with Nujabes when I first did it, you know what I'm saying? They probably caught on a little late, which is cool. And so with this song, I used it as a way to kind of break down all of the different people, like, well, not all, but some of the people I've worked with over the years, some of the moves I've made over the years, and then throw a little, you know, talk a little smack at the same time. Like, you know, I think I definitely you know, I think I'm considered by a lot of people to be a pretty humble dude. But at the same time, as an MC, it's like I know what I'm capable of, so I'm not going to downplay that, you know what I'm saying, at all. So this song was an opportunity to kind of, you know, tell folks like, hey, man, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've done. You know, you need to pay attention, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes you got to let people know. And so it was a great opportunity to do it, you know.
And this is your first release, correct me if I'm wrong, on Mellow Music.
Yes.
Right? So that label has a lot of artists, and it's kind of picking up steam. How did you, one, make the move to Mellow Music, and also,
right,
are you still, you know, doing work with Q&5?
Right. Yeah. Q&5 is still the crew. You know, like, you know, still got love for them. I still talk to at least somebody in the crew, you know, pretty frequently. Whether it's Tone, you know, I was chopping it up with Natty recently because I'm about to do a song with him for his solo album, and so that's still the fam. That isn't changing. You know, as far as the move to Mellow Music, that came about while working with Odyssey. You know, I'm always exploring new options, new ways to put out my records, you know. I think all artists should strive to build their brand. And so this was an opportunity for me. I knew how dope the record was going to be just based off of certain things we were doing. And I was just like, man, I'm not just trying to have this come out the exact same way I've done everything else. So maybe I should go a different direction, you know, like in terms of how we're going to put this out. And so I was a fan of mellow music. I like a lot of the artists on there. YU is one of my favorite artists from the area. Love his voice, his music that he makes. Of course, Odyssey, and some of the other stuff that's come out on the label. And you know, they had hit me up as well a couple times for collabos and stuff, like something I was working on with YU from early on, from a couple years back, and then another track that I'd done. And so, you know, I just asked God while we were working on it what he thought were some good options for the record. And of course, Mello came up, and a couple other names came up, and yeah, they heard the record. Man, shout out to Mike. He heard the record, hit me up pretty quick, let me know he was interested. I was actually on a bullet train in Japan when I got the email to forward him the record. So yeah, man, it's like sent it to him, and the rest is kind of history, you know.
The first track on the album, Spilled Milk, kind of talk about kind of just the struggles of his life, and also also as a musician. And one thing I noticed on there, you were talking about just dealing with bills and just kind of the usual stuff people deal with.
Right.
And it got me thinking about the last time I talked to you. You moved into music 100%.
Right.
Full-time job. Is that still the case? Are you still doing that 100%, or has kind of life taken over and you kind of have to step back a little bit?
Well, definitely haven't stepped back. I'm even though I'm not doing. I say it like this. What I tell people all the time is now I have 2 full-time jobs. So I still do music full-time because a lot of times while I'm at the job I have, working with kids during the day at this middle school, while I'm doing that, oftentimes or whatever, emails and different things are still coming in while I'm there that like need immediate responses. So I'm not doing too much work on my music while I'm there, but I'm doing enough that by the time I get home and put in time with the family, they crash and I'm putting in hours. So and of course the weekends and stuff like that. So it's very much still a full-time thing for me. I still playing to tour and everything else. The one thing about me, any job I usually take where I'm working with kids, oftentimes I got it because of the music I do. So they know what it is when I come in. So I was doing music 100%, just music, like when I first got this new opportunity. But now I'm doing that in conjunction with the music, and I'm actually working on helping them build a studio there for the kids, and doing some stuff after school with some of my students, kind of as a way to keep them on track, something to keep them out the streets or whatever in the meantime. So yeah, man, it's a struggle. I definitely I think every artist would like to be able to just do your music, but to me it almost doesn't feel, with the topics I talk about a lot of times when I'm talking about what's going on in the neighborhood, and I'm talking about how the injustices I see or whatever, and how hard it is for certain kids. It's like if I'm rapping about that all the time and I'm really not actively involved in the ways to improve these situations, for lack of, I don't know if I can curse or not, can I tell them, okay, it's complete bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and there's no point in talking about something all the time or rapping about it all the time if you have no intent of stepping out there to do something about it. Tone Deaf once said to me, he was like, this song is cool where you're talking about this, but you don't necessarily come up with any solutions. And to me, sometimes it's pointless to come up with a solution like while I'm talking about it. I can rap about it all day. What really matters to me is when I'm done with this song, when I finish up with the studio, what do I go and do after? Do I pretty much go out here and add on to what it is I'm talking about? Do I make it worse, or do I go out here and make it better for the most part? And I've dedicated probably the last decade or so of my life, a little more than a decade actually, to doing just that. So there's nothing I write songs about that I'm not actively involved in. So make that clear. And I'm not judging anybody else, but I'm speaking for myself. Everybody, it's different strokes for different folks. That's how I roll. So yeah, man. So it's a challenge. It definitely is. But I've never been scared of a little hard work. So
Well, album's out. Working on a video. What is the next thing for you as far what's the next thing, and then also touring and whatnot?
Right. So you know, of course, we're pushing the record. You know, we're wrapping up these videos. I got a like a little mini documentary coming out for the release event that we did, and then following that, you know, the shows or whatever in the tour is coming up real soon. Supposed to head back to Japan in November, doing something at the Smithsonian Museum of American Art in November as well. Hoping to hit the road with YU, you know, after I return from Japan or whatever, do a couple U.S. dates. And the goal is also to hit Europe in 2013 and maybe a couple other places that you might not see a lot of rappers at. So, yeah, man, just keep grinding, man. You know, besides that or whatever, as far as more music, working on a new Bop Alloy record with my partner Marcus D, who's actually about to move to Japan on Tuesday. So, you know, we're working on that. And I'm still doing work with my group Phenom, with, you know, super producer Mr. Chu Fu, when he has time and he's not doing stuff for Lady Gaga and other people. It's insane. So yeah, man, lots of crazy stuff, man. Lots of just really crazy stuff lined up. I think people are going to be really surprised in the next couple months to see some of the moves that's lined up. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Substantial. This is
No problem.
Dan Wall Street again, Hip Hop Authority and thewellverse.com. And go ahead and pick up the new album from Substantial, Home
Yes.
is Where the Art Is, if you have not gotten it yet. Available on iTunes. You can check it out on Bandcamp.
Yep.
And lots of places. So check that out.
Yes, indeed.
Again, thanks, Sub.
Hey, no problem, man. My pleasure. All right. Peace, y'all.